Welcome to NYMLB Talk, New York's #1 baseball podcast. Now here's your hosts, Chris Pizzaya and Rob Maraska.
Welcome to a new episode of NYMLB Talk with your hosts, Chris and Rob, covering the Mets and Yankees. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit that sub button. That would be awesome for us, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Also, mention us in the comments, too. Say hello. Definitely talk with us during the show. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. We're on everywhere at NYMLB Talk. You can follow Rob at Maraska. You can follow myself at CP7NY. Rob, today we got not a special guest, but a special great guest. Yeah. We have the best guest, I think, this week. Rob, why don't you introduce our good friend?
Yeah, we have. Listen, he calls himself the Motor City Madmouth, all right? But he's a great guy. He's fun to talk to. We got Scott Morganroth from South Florida Tribune.com. I want to give that out. And Scott, welcome to our show. Listen, Scott had us on Wednesday night. We had a blast. You know, we were like, you know, what's the show going to be like? There's tons of topics, but once it started going, we had a lot of fun, and you know, we enjoyed it, and we can't wait to do it again. Scott, thanks for coming on our show.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys are great, man. You guys are an absolute hit. Really? Seriously, really? That's one of my favorite words. You guys are an absolute hit. I've never seen anybody topics worried about, I only know this. Give me a break. Really? Seriously? You guys are fantastic. Or as Dig My Child would say, awesome, baby. You guys are great. I love being on the shows with you guys. I tell you, and everybody else did. And when you come on this Wednesday, you're going to meet some more people, and we're going to get you even more established. Because the guy that I'm going to have on this Wednesday night is a guy that I've been in the business with for 46 and a half years as well. And when I tell him he made the move to the sports exchange, and look at my two newest studs in and Pizza and Rob. I got to use Pizza because it's only spelled that way anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
I'm from New York.
You guys are a hit. I love being in this industry. I have a book I wrote on it, planning to write another one, and always looking to get as much exposure, let alone with people that like to collaborate and I care about. You guys are two of the best additions we've had all year, and that's what makes this business fun, when the more and more people you get to meet, let alone the fact that you have a lot of fun. That's what this business is all about, is having a lot of fun.
Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of the history of Scott, of
sure.
yourself.
Well, let's go back to 1979. Well, I know he was born at least. Okay, but I got my first break in the industry at WXYZ TV, which is ABC out in Detroit, as a producer for Sports Talk. I took that situation and went out there and built on it by getting it more and more involved with radio stations, and also as a writer for the Detroit Monitor. From there, it went ahead and led to many other opportunities in radio and other newspapers along the way. And just recently, in the last 5-10 years, I decided to start my own company because I saw that newspapers were going down south. Thank you very much for putting that up there. And I felt like it would be great if I could take an ESPN type of platform, let alone I'll never be as big as them and won't even try to think I can do it on my own, and take an online publication and turn it into a digital platform and incorporate videos. We have a strong 1-2 punch, and I believe that's one of the things. In this business, you have to have the passion, you have the burning desire to do everything that you possibly can. And I'll tell you, this business is in my blood. And as a result, with my new book, that's really what I'm pumping my whole life into. And over the course of the next year or two, I'm going to be looking to even put more and more videos that are travel related, so that I'm not a one-trick pony. So it's been a great ride. I've met a lot of great people, the Tom Lasordas, Muhammad Ali's. And if people get that book, they're going to find out that some of the people I've met over the years. I'm really working on trying to land Bob Ryan of the Boston Globe next Wednesday night. We're in the process of trying to get that one worked out. But I've had a lot of big guests, and I do a lot of the marketing that I have through Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all that. And when you show up at places, you cover sporting events, then you're able to go out there, make the connections so you can that work on building a first class environment that you want when people come on. They want to know they're having fun. They love coming on, and it's a family environment. What you guys are doing here is a lot of what I try to preach to my students and people that are learning. You guys have fun with what you're doing. You watch the games and you come on very prepared. And you guys are a great model, and I'm so happy to be on your show today.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Definitely, Scott. We appreciate it. And I just want to say hello to Marie out there and Joe Dell. Thanks for joining us as usual. Scott,
I should point out to them that for those your guests, will you please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel? We have like 1,400 some odd subscribers. We're always looking to add a few more. So South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, please subscribe. And we have probably about, I want to say about 540,000 views on there. We're looking to hit 1 million by the end of the year.
Wow, that's great. And hello, Jonathan out there. Yes, the Mets do have a 7-game winning streak, and we're going to get into that now. But I just have to ask Chris a question. Chris,
yes.
You know, what happened with the Yankees? We needed more help than 1 game. What is going on with the Yankees? I think Jonathan might have jinxed them for you on last week's show when he was saying, you know, Chris, I was wrong. The Yankees are looking good. And then from the minute that Jonathan said that, downhill. We needed more help than 1 game. What's going on with the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, listen, last weekend it looked pretty good, right? Taking 2 out of 3 against Atlanta. And then going into the Toronto series, I said, okay, you know what? They're starting to play better. Maybe they're getting back to the way they were about a month ago. But losing 2 out of 3 to Toronto, in Toronto, huge games, losing 2 out of 3. And then coming home to play Philly, losing 2 out of 3. And it was like they didn't even show up for those first 2 games, right? They lost 8-4 the first game. They had the lead in that game, too. I think it was 3-2 at one point. And they ended up losing that game. And then the next game, 12-5. And then it didn't look good going into that last game. But Rodon matched up with Wheeler. Wheeler didn't have his best stuff, thankfully. So we took advantage and we won the last game 4-3. To get 1 game out of those 3. But right now they're just not playing well. They picked up Ryan McMahon for third base. Huge upgrade to what we've had with Peraza there at third. You know, trust me, McMahon is not the perfect guy, but he's much better than what we've had. And they picked up Ahmad Rosario, another right-handed bat off the bench. So that'll be good. And then, of course, we got the bad news about Judge. He's going to be out at least the 10-game IL. They did say it should only be to 10 days. You know, this is all, if everything goes right, 10 days, he comes back. He'll be a DH, probably a DH only for about 2 weeks, and then hopefully be out in the field. But still, that's a huge, huge loss for at least 10 games, maybe more.
Yeah, you're right. And Jonathan asked a good question, Chris, if you see it. You know, why did the Yankees take a week to shut down Judge? If they knew this, they still let him play. Well, you know, why would you do that to the face of the franchise, the captain, and let him go, especially now? I mean, why?
Because things could have gotten worse. I totally agree. Because he obviously did feel the pain on that throw from in Toronto from right field. So at that point, maybe they were thinking, all right, maybe he needs a little bit of a breather and he'll be okay and he could play through it. And I'm sure Judge was pushing for that. You know how players are. Players want to play through everything. They don't want to go on the IL. Yeah. Judge didn't even want to go on the IL now, and they told him you had to, right? So I think that was more Judge saying, no, I'm good. I'll play through it. I'll be fine. They should have did the X-rays or the imaging right away to really assess the situation, but they kind of waited on that, and now we're stuck with him on the IL. So now he's out for at least 10 days. Hopefully not more, but it definitely complicates things because even when he returns and he's going to be a DH only guy, that means you're throwing Stanton out in right field, which we know he's not. He hasn't played the field in a couple of years. Yeah, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when he was with the Marlins, yeah, he was a pretty good right fielder, but not anymore. Right now, the guy can't even run. So that's not going to be a good situation when he does return, but hopefully he does return.
Yeah, that's true. And Scott, you got to see him at his really best, right? With the Marlins.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. This guy knows how to hit bombs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I was surprised he didn't break a few glass windows with some of those balls going as far as they did. Let me tell you this, okay? Let's cut the Yankees a little bit of slack here. If you're losing to Toronto, it's not like you committed murder. Look what happened. They walked into Detroit and they beat Detroit 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
So the Toronto Blue Jays are a good team.
Yep.
So if you're going to beat up on the Yankees for losing to Toronto, it'd be like a 2-year-old getting beat up by a 30-year-old. Don't do it. Toronto's good. and also, let's go back on something that Michael Kay said when he said Toronto's not a first-place team, and then he needed Don Mattingly to intervene with that situation. Mm-hmm. They are a first-place team. This team is good. But the thing that so many people don't understand is they locked in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and they have made him the cornerstone of this franchise. And Bo Bichette's playing some pretty good baseball as well. Let's not lose sight of the fact that Toronto has won 2 World Series in their history. So this is a number 1 media market in the country. They have a pretty good sports history in Toronto. So let's not sell the Toronto Blue Jays short. Let's not do that. The Yankees right now, obviously it's been challenging at times, but I predicted the Mets would, because I covered them a little bit in spring training too, that they would probably end up being better than the Yankees this year because of some of the high profile additions that they had. We're talking about Juan Soto, who, by the way, his payroll is higher than the Miami Marlins all year on opening day.
That's true.
By the way, being tonight's edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, for those of you that'll realize it'll be on around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So let's not get too hard on the Yankees. I also did a story many years ago on DJ LeMahieu when he was with the Rockies, and he was doing pretty well. I thought he was going to do all right in New York, and for a while he did, but he's getting older as well. I thought that when he went to New York, he could elevate his Hall of Fame status because he was going on a real great path. He really, really was. So, but unfortunately, things haven't worked out for LeMahieu as they did when he was in Colorado. Is that because Colorado has a mile high? I don't know. I don't think DJ LeMahieu was made for. It wasn't really about mile high altitude with him because he was a punch and Judy hitter. Anyways, but we'll see.
DJ is more about injuries here. I think he got.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then he just kind of tailed off.
Right, he's been snake bitten is what he has been. So I like DJ LeMahieu. He's from my neck of the woods in Metro Detroit, and I hope he gets it figured out. But let's say, come on, guys, we're only talking the end of July.
And think about it: the Blue Jays are playing without their big free agent signing, right? Santander. He's been out since what, May, I think. So, but you know what? When you lose to these Blue Jays time and time again this year, it kind of shows you that are the Yankees that good? Because they haven't been stepping up against their division rivals, whether it's Toronto, Boston, they just haven't played good within their division. And that's not a good recipe, right? To win, number one, to win your division, and number two, to possibly miss the playoffs. So,
or let alone the fact that maybe is Toronto that much better? That's how you have to look at it too. This team was much better than advertised.
Yes.
Once you got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signed, this wasn't just a typical signing. This is a signing for all of Canada and Toronto. Hey, we're willing to spend the money to keep this guy. He could have gone as a free agent, and then the franchise would have gone south. Toronto knew they had themselves a player, and they kept him.
Yep.
They got more money
and he
than
wanted
most
to stay there,
think.
right? And he wanted to be there. He said it.
Chris, that's when they turn things around. Once they signed him to the contract, they did. But Chris, it still would have been nicer for the Yankees to, help the Mets out a little more. But let's get to the Mets right now, since that's the team that's hot in New York. 7 in a row, right? Winning, and you said this: if you're going to win a game out of a series that you're not going to sweep or split, the last game is a game to win, which they did against the Reds. Once they did that, they swept the Angels and they swept the San Francisco Giants in San Francisco, and they had a great weekend. Friday night, they won 8-1. We were on the air as that was happening. Holmes pitched a great game, right?
Yep.
We're thinking, is Holmes going to be tired? Because we talked about it Friday night. the most innings he's ever pitched in the major leagues. Hey, he looked really good Friday night. Lindor hit a home run and a double. Nimmo doubled, Soto doubled, but the bullpen was lights out all weekend. All weekend they were lights out. They're looking great. Garcia looked good. Remember Garcia, Chris? Back and forth, back and forth. And he's back with the Mets. So Friday night, a big win. Saturday, the Mets win 2-1. Pitchers duel. Peterson again with a great game. The guy's pitching great. Viento's starting to wake up. He got both RBIs in that game. Gregory Soto, who the Mets got from the Orioles, comes in. He pitches a shutout inning to add to that bullpen, which this weekend was just out of sight. Yes, Diaz came in and made it exciting in the ninth inning, and Alonso had to save him with a catch where, good thing he's tall, because I don't know how he caught that ball. It looked like it was going over his head. So Saturday, the same, they win. Last night on the ESPN game, right? 5-3, and all of a sudden Mauricio is hitting. This was his first 4-hit game. Home run, 2 doubles, and a single. He hit one into the McCovey Cove. Splash, he hit one of those splash home runs in the McCovey Cove. But Diaz has to come in again and make it exciting. And the bases are loaded, and here we go again. But the Mets, I think Diaz likes doing this, right? He likes driving you crazy, putting guys on base, and then he blows them away to finish the game. So the Mets had a great weekend in San Francisco, Chris.
All right, so Rob, I'll ask you, and also Scott, he's got to answer this too. We got the trade deadline a couple of days away now, right? You already mentioned they picked up Soto from the Orioles. Good bullpen piece. That's great. But what else do the Mets have to do here? What else do they have to do right now they're leading the division, so they don't have to, but I want to see them go from really good to, we're as good as the Dodgers or better. Yeah. What else do they have to do?
All right, I'll answer it real quick. Then I want to hear Scott's answer. I told you, they got to get a hitter. I wouldn't mind seeing Mullins from the Orioles come to the Mets. I don't know what's going to happen now, because Stearns likes to make these little moves that, a lot of times they work out. He tweaks the lineup, but I want to see a big move. I wouldn't mind seeing Mullins get another bat out there in center field, but they're saying, well, McNeil's hitting pretty good now, so maybe McNeil will play center field. And, I don't know. I want a big bat. That's how I feel. Maybe one more part of the bullpen. Bullpen's looking really good, like I said, this weekend. But Scott, what about you? What do you think about the Mets? What do the Mets need to really get them over the top?
Well, I've heard the name Sandy Alcantara linked to the Mets. I really have heard him. Here's the situation that the Marlins are in that nobody really expected him to be in. Number one, a lot of people thought that this was a rebuild and another typical fire sale, but Peter Bendix has done a whale of a job. He really has. So now you wonder. But I don't know. For some reason, I think Sandy Alcantara does get traded at the deadline. The Marlins have a lot of good young pitchers in the farm. And if you can get a big value for him, it's pretty hard to second guess anything that Peter Bendix has done up to this point. Because here's a team that's 8-1-1 in their last 10 series. We just walked into Milwaukee and beat the Brewers 2 out of 3. They were looking awfully good. And now all of a sudden they're 4 games under 500, right? They're in the wild card chase. Even if they make a move like Sandy Alcantara, will the fan base think, maybe yes and no this time? Normally it would be a prohibitive yes. But I've heard the Yankees and the Mets, for that matter, could both use them. I think I just heard the Mets a lot more. So I'm not saying that move will happen. But you trade him to a division foe that you have to see him multiple times a year. That's another story. Mets could use another bat, but the biggest intrinsic thing they have here is they have a heck of a manager in Carlos Mendoza. This guy is awfully good. Juan Soto, if he can develop some consistency and run out ground balls, I hear he wasn't doing that earlier in the year. Get out of the box a little quicker, Juan. You're getting paid a lot of money to do it. But the Mets could go a lot of different ways. They really can. So I'll be intrigued. But Rob, you mentioned they could use a bat, but do you have to overpay for a bat? Maybe you don't have to pay for it. There might be some bargain basements out there. We'll have to see. We don't really know. Do some of us really know who the buyers and sellers are this close to the deadline? There might be some teams that are more. I have to get rid of them. I know the Diamondbacks are moving a few pieces, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I know the Detroit Tigers. We're not sure what they're going to do. It wouldn't be bad if they had another bat or two and a lot of players in the bullpen to spice that thing up. But dating back to your Mets, they can go a lot of different ways. But here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to compare him to somebody that I had on my show last week. Neil Smith, the former general manager for the New York Mets, was on the Motor City Mad Mouse show. And
the Rangers, you're right, the Rangers.
You got it. And here's the thing about David Stearns that he didn't have in Milwaukee. It's that thing called cash, and he has a lot of it. Okay, so now David Stearns is sitting in the Mets GM chair and said, "My goodness, okay, I don't have to rob a bank. I have a bank, and his name is Steve Cohen. And Steve Cohen, I think we really need to get this guy. Steve Cohen don't get in the way. He's a fan, wants to win. If there's anybody who's the right owner for that franchise, I love what Steve Cohen is doing." How many collective bargaining agreements can you make where you have the Steve Cohen rule that you're overspending and now we're on a third tier? But the guy wants to make money. And he's done an awful lot of good things for that franchise. He really has. He's developing from what I hear around Citi Field and doing all kinds of stuff around there. So how do you not root for a guy like Steve Cohen? Like when we had Mike Ilitch with the Detroit Red Wings. Before they had the salary cap, Mike Ilitch was spending money up the wang, getting the Red Wings whatever they need. But obviously that changed. Keep the narrative to the metropolitan New York area. I like what the Mets are going to do and stay. And Mr. David Stearns has an awful lot to play with, and he has a big piggy bank that if you smash it wide open, there'll be a lot of coins coming out.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, I like, some of the things that Jonathan is putting up there. Harrison Bader knows the team. He was with them last year, so that would be an upgrade for some defense, right? Chris, what about you? Who do you think the Mets, looking from the Yankees fan side of it, who do you think the Mets should get, or what do you think the Mets need? What do you personally think?
No, I definitely like the idea of a center fielder, right? Because right now you got Tyrone Taylor and you're throwing out Jeff McNeil out there. So I could definitely see a center fielder for sure, whether it's Mullen, even Luis Robert from Chicago. That guy's been in trade rumors now, 2 years now. And of course, like you said, pitching. Every team is always looking for another pitcher, right? I don't know if the Mets need a closer type guy because you have Edwin Diaz. How is Ryan Helsley going to come in? How is he going to be being the setup guy for Diaz? Because Diaz is the closer, no matter who you bring in, right? So is Helsley going to be okay being the setup guy? I don't know. And we've seen it, we've all seen guys that have been closers become a setup guy, in this kind of a situation and not really pitch their best, right? So that's the only thing that worries me. So I would get more setup guys, like really good setup guys, maybe Griffin Jacks from the Twins. I would maybe think about, going after that guy, but definitely a bat, center field. Third base, I think you can mix and match right now. You got Beatty, you got Mauricio, and you got Vientos. You got to figure it out. You need two guys there that you could rotate lefty, right would be perfect. But I think you got a good combination there for third. So I don't think you need a third baseman. You mentioned Willie Castro. Willie Castro is a guy that can play all over the field. So he's a really good utility player off the bench, and he's got a decent bat. So I like that too. So, but I think the Mets are in a good, position right now because they're not desperate for these right now. They need them, but they're not like, oh my God, we got to add this guy, or, they're leading the division right now and they're looking really good. And you look at the rest of the league where the Dodgers, they're beat up still with all their injuries. I know Snell's going to be back. He might be back this week. So maybe things start to change. you know, they got Glasnow back, but he's crying already that, the season's 162 games. I would love to hear Scott's opinion on that guy. But yeah, I think the Mets are in the mix right now, right? And they can only get better. They're not going to get worse, right? So
let me ask you guys a question. How's Starling Marte doing this year?
Well, he's been listen. Yeah, when he's not hurt, he's been doing good. He came back. He's looking all right. His problem is injuries, right?
I know we dealt with that.
He's always getting injured. When he's not injured, it's great. When he's hitting, he helps that lineup. But he's just hurt too much. And Chris, real quick, what you said about someone coming in, a closer coming in to be a setup guy. I'm going to go back to 2000. That happened with the Mets when they got Armando Benitez, right? And Franco went from the closer to the setup guy with him, and they're never happy about that. So you never know if it's going to work out. So you have to be careful with that. There's no way Diaz is not the closer, barring injury, for the rest of this year. But one thing you got to remember, Diaz also can opt out of his contract after this season. So that's another thing that the Mets are going to have to think
that's
about.
fine. You know what? Yeah. At this point right now, I'm not thinking about that. Right? You guys are right. You guys are worried about winning the National League, getting to the World Series. That's what I'm worried about. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. I got Cohen, and if you really want Diaz, he'll be a Met for life.
That's right.
That's
Cohen will get whoever he wants. But I want to switch
your moves right now.
Yeah. I want to switch the subject because I want to talk to Scott about this and you. It's something silly that I've been thinking about. In San Francisco, right? When they hit the ball out into McCovey Cove, right? Why is it McCovey Cove and not maybe Willie Mays Cove? The home runs Willie Mays hit. Is it because he played for the New York Giants? It's actually not officially called McCovey Cove. It's just was named that by two sports writers, Mark Purdy and Leonard Coppett. But they found it fitting to honor McCovey. But why not Mays? Or since Bonds hit so many home runs out there, right? Why not Bonds? Well, maybe we know why not Bonds.
I like this question. This is a great question.
I knew you would.
Oh, come on. But I want to go back to your bullpen thing for 1 second, if I can.
Okay.
You guys struck a chord here. You really did.
All right, go ahead.
You know how you really solve bullpen problems? How about letting the starters go ahead and go 7 innings and maybe even 8?
No, we can't do that, Scott. We can't. We can't. 100 pitches. That's all they could do. That's the law.
You're talking about a guy who's old school, Chris.
I know. I'm with you. Trust me, I'm with you.
Me too.
Finish. I mean, you guys said the bar like 100 pitches, everything. I used to watch guys throw 175, 200 pitches. In fact, I had Mickey Callaway on last week.
And the arm didn't fall off.
Edward, hold on. You guys struck a chord, but I want to answer your McCovey question. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, but here's the thing. Remember when Edwin Rodriguez threw 149 pitch no hitter? That's at the bar for what everything was going to be.
Yeah.
But come on, give me starters that could go 7 or 8 innings, and then you have one guy. That's all I'm going to say about the whole thing.
I'm 100% with you.
Now back to your original question. Go 7 or 8. Big stinking deal. Max Scherzer did 7 at least yesterday with Toronto when he lost. And here's a guy that's got a little bit of wear and tear on him. He didn't do too bad. He got 11 strikeouts. Back to the original question. I don't think that Willie Mays has a history in San Francisco as he did in New York.
Okay.
That's why I think you've got McCovey Cove. Number 2, if you're going to do Barry Bonds Cove, you might as well have Asterisk Cove. Okay. Because that's what I would call it, Asterisk Cove. I view Hank Aaron as the all-time home run king, not Barry Bonds Asterisk Cove. And I'll tell you what, I'll even go a step deeper on this. When the Marlins knocked out the Giants in the playoffs here at Joe Robbie Stadium, I had a chance to talk to Bonds, and I turned it down. And I got soaked inside the Marlins locker room when they beat him. I knew he was an arrogant individual. I want nothing to do with Barry, I'm a cheater Bonds. So I think it's appropriately named. after McCovey Cove because it has a much better history with the Giants. That's what I think. But if I want Barry Bonds, I'm going to call it Asterisk Cove. Okay.
Okay.
Technically, I'm just going to throw
Or
you
if that
one here.
doesn't work, call it Belco Cove.
Technically, he never tested positive. So
that's true.
Big deal.
Just saying.
Yeah, he never. Then again, how many of them tested positive?
No,
but all you have to go right. Exactly.
I know.
But if that isn't good enough, if you can, I'll tell you what. The only one that couldn't see this would be Ray Charles. Okay.
He could hear it though, probably.
Yeah, no, but don't mess up my analogy because this is really a good one here. Okay.
All right, guys.
How about this?
Wait, I got to say this. All you have to do is
okay.
look at Barry Bonds when he was in Pittsburgh, let alone with the Giants.
I know.
Exactly.
You can't see
Right
the
here.
body
I got a good idea.
That's where Ray Charles comes into the picture. Okay, go ahead.
I got a good idea to solve the McCovey Cove. Keep it as McCovey Cove, right?
Yeah.
But make that big, the big glove that's out in left center. Make that be like Willie Mays' glove because he patrolled center field. Not in that one, obviously, but he was the center fielder. So let that be Willie Mays' glove. McCovey Cove is named after Willie McCovey because he would have hit bombs in McCovey Cove all year.
Oh yeah. That sounds good, Chris. But we got to get to the Baseball Hall of Fame ceremonies. So let me start off with Chris, and then we definitely will go to you, Scott. Chris, what did you think about the ceremonies yesterday?
It was great, man. It was great. I love the speeches. Dave Parker's son talking, that was amazing. It was great. CeCe's speech was great. Ichiro, I didn't know Ichiro had that great of a,
he was
humor,
great,
man. He was awesome. All English, right? He was awesome. Loved him. I mean, Ichiro is one of the greatest players we've seen, in the last 20 years. Just an amazing player. All of them deserved it. I'm not here to say they didn't. I'm not debating any of those guys. They all deserved it. But yeah, it was a good day. The one thing that stinks, and someone put it up today on Twitter, and I have to agree. It's like you want to build the sport, you want to make the sport more popular, and you're making the day that you're honoring all these great players on a day where where everybody else is playing on that day, right? So you got to try to figure out a day where everybody's off. I was thinking maybe do it during the All-Star break. That might be a better idea. I don't know, Scott. Maybe you got an idea of when to do this All-Star induction. I know the Hall of Fame induction. I know it's always around this time, Cooperstown. You can't do it in November in Cooperstown because it'd be too cold. So, what do you think is the right answer here, or is there any?
That's a good question. There isn't any answer to this one. There just isn't. I think the toughest thing about the Hall of Fame yesterday, though, is that two of them were inducted posthumously, is what they were.
Yeah, agreed.
Dave Parker didn't quite get there. It's about a month or two away. That's too bad.
That was sad.
As far as Nick Allen, heck of a player. Ichiro Suzuki, he didn't even know that the Miami Marlins were a franchise when they signed him. Then again, probably a lot of people are wondering, do they know him anyways? But I think the saddest part about Ichiro, honestly, is how the heck could that one person not even vote for him? Man, that is bad. That is bad.
Hey, that happened with Jeter too, right? That happened with Jeter. That happened with Jeter, right? One guy didn't vote for him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
people you see it like with the umpires now. They try to make it bigger than them, and it's
they do it in spite. And I don't know what they're. And the fact that you have Billy Wagner, he doesn't belong in there. I'd worry about next year's class. You may not have anybody in next year's class at all. Cole Hamels looks good unless one or two of these other ones. It's going to be a light class this next year. But focusing on, they got the five guys right that have great history on this. I have zero problem with the five that went in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, two weren't there, and Dave Parker's son finished the job. At least Dave Parker knew he was going in.
Yes.
Allen, not the same. And the other three deserve to be there. So I'm really happy for all of them. But I don't think there's any way that you can really get around the perfect time. You just have to simply do it. I mean, look what happens with the NFL. I mean, at least on Thursday night, they play the game, okay? And then, of course, over the weekend, they do everything without the other stuff. But I don't think there's a real easy way to do this one.
I don't like this. Leave the ceremony as it is, but I would change the votes. Let YouTubers vote. I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. That's Scott. What do you think of that?
I don't know. I guess my mama always taught me to be open-minded. I like this baseball purist. We have to get somehow, some way, baseball purist. Do me a favor, my friend. Tune into 108 Stitches Baseball Talk tonight on YouTube, and I'll have a lot of interesting stuff there. We do a baseball show like these two guys do. These guys are awesome. I'm glad to be on their baseball.
Scott, give me a couple of guys that you think deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that are not in yet.
Oh, I can tell you right now. I'm always going to say.
I know your list is probably long, but give me just the top guys.
Well, I'm just going to say Don Mattingly. I'll swear by this guy.
There you go. That's why we love Scott.
Yeah, I mean, Don Mattingly's a no-brainer. Lou Whitaker belongs in there, but I don't think his PR guy was very good. His PR manner was any good. Jeff Kent's a guy that could make a case for it.
Yep.
I think the thing I like about Jeff Kent is he decided to take on boxing and beat the hell out of Bonds, so I'll definitely give my vote if I got one. I mean, Mark McGwire, I don't know about that. I'll tell you a guy that I worked with many years ago, even though we know it'll never happen. In 1987, when I was a PR guy for the Gastonia Rangers, was Sammy Sosa. I was his director of public relations in 1987.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We had like 10 guys that ended up making the major leagues there. So it was unbelievable. And we lost 90 games, go figure. But
what about Keith Hernandez? Wait a second, though. You said Mattingly. Scott, what about Keith Hernandez?
I could make a case for him. Andrew Jones is another guy I can make
Andrew
a case
Jones.
for.
Kenny Lofton.
Yeah, I mean, here's a speed guy who was a threat on the base paths and was a pretty sound defender. All these guys, but the question that you have to ask, and so many people mention on my show, is this a Hall of Fame or a Hall of Very Good?
Yes. Yeah. That's right. We discussed
line.
Yeah.
Right. We discussed that a lot, but let's get
Don
to this
Mattingly
one.
belongs there, period.
And listen, if Mattingly belongs there, Keith Hernandez belongs there.
Listen, here's my only argument for Bonds. Okay. And McGwire. Okay. Here's my only argument. Right. I know I'm going to get shot down, Scott. I know. But here's my thing. I look at, I even go to the Hall of Fame, right? I go on to Baseball Reference. I go to MLB.com and I look at the home run leaders, right? Bonds is still there. McGuire's numbers are still there. Sosa's numbers are still there. How do we, I don't, their numbers are counted, right? Major League Baseball is saying, yeah, those numbers count, but we're not going to put them in the Hall of Fame. That's where I have a problem.
Well, but what you don't know is the fact that they do acknowledge the steroid guys in an exhibit in the Hall of Fame. They just don't have a plaque.
Yeah.
Because it's a baseball museum. Let's not lose sight of what Cooperstown really is. I got some broadcasters, friends of mine, that are in the Hall of Fame, by the way. Ernie Harwell is one of them.
Nice.
Great.
Yes.
Now, I've never met Vince Scully, but I'll tell you one thing. They got a lot of great broadcasters in there. But they do acknowledge these guys, but they don't have a plaque. We all know Pete Rose should be in there, and I have a feeling he'll end up in there before long, too. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I mean, Rob Manfred went out there and said, okay, well, the lifetime ban is lifted. Sure, the man's dead. What do you want? Okay. But he's going to get in as soon as there's the opportunity to do it. But Pete Rose had more lives than Morris, okay, to get in. And all he did was lie on every last one of them when he had a book signing across the street and showed up the event to make money. I've never seen a guy screw up more chances than Pete Rose, and yet for some reason he'll get in. But all you got to do is go to the museum. I've dumped a lot of coin in there. I got a lot of interesting statues on there.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. Hey, we knew Pete Rose was never going to get in while he was alive. That was his punishment. Gambling aside, all that other stuff, just statistically, does Pete Rose belong in the Hall of Fame? And statistically, yes, he does belong in the Hall of Fame.
Without a doubt. His numbers, yeah.
Well, no question about it. He belongs there. I mean, he does belong there. But you got to remember, you have the all-time hits king that doesn't belong in there, and the all-time home run king is in there. That's baseball's Hall of Fame, people.
Joe Dell wants us to create a baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, halfway house. That's a great comment. I like Hall of Fame halfway house. I like that.
Joe Dell, that is a good one.
It'll be right next door to the Hall of Fame. They could build a little shack.
Definitely. But all right, I wanted to move on to something else that we were talking about. about that little leaguer in New Jersey that was thrown out of the game, and he was suspended but reinstated into the Little League tournament because he flipped his bat after he hit a home run. Okay. What do you Scott, what do you think about that? The kid flipped the bat, hit a home run, flipped the bat. They threw him out, and then they weren't going to let him continue until his father, who is an attorney, by the way, so I guess that helps. They went in front of a judge. The judge overturned it.
Well, he knows one thing. He's watching Major League Baseball and a lot of guys, so he's a lot of perfect role models setting an example of some sorts.
Yep.
I actually have no problem with that.
Yeah, and that's what they used with the judge, because Little League Baseball actually was promoting bat flips on their webpage and social media. And the father, who's an attorney, brought it up. They had a player from the 2022 Little League World Series champion team flip a bat. So he said, I watched the videos with my son. So that's where he learned it from. And the judge overturned it. But
well, let me ask you a question. Does anybody realize that Little League is supposed to be fun with kids?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Little League is supposed to be fun. That you're right.
Kids.
So yes, definitely. Chris, what do you think about?
Listen, as long as you're not throwing a bat at somebody, I have no. You know what? Listen, yeah, if you're throwing it all the way up in the air and making it almost dangerous, yeah, I would definitely have to sit the kid down. But listen, like Scott just said, he's seen it in Major League Baseball. He sees these kids doing it there. So this is part of the game now. Whether we like it or not, it's part of the game. If it's part of the game there, and like Scott said, these kids are just having fun. This is it. They're having fun. Let them have fun.
And that's how it should be. I don't care if they flip it, as long as they don't hit somebody with it or throw it at someone. Hey, listen, the parents are worse than the kids in Little League, right? The parents are the ones who get into fights. I was an umpire in Lodi for the Little League, and I was doing a championship game. And of course, it comes down to a tie game, and in the last inning, and the run at the plate, it was a play at the plate, and I called the runner out, and the runner was out. Guess what? I had to run into the clubhouse. They were going to kill me, the other team. It was crazy.
I've got 9 words to describe everything you guys are saying. Okay, look at this one hat. Seriously, really, seriously? And the other one is really, seriously, really? And then you know what the other 3 words are? Get a life.
Exactly, Scott. Thank you. There you go.
Exactly. All right, let's get into Scott's book right now.
To worry about a back
because that's another reason he's here too. We want to promote that book. So why don't we do that? Tell us about your book, Scott.
My book is really focused on old school media versus new school media. Is really what it is. We talk about the fact that terrestrial radio, FCC, Federal Communications Commission, they rule with an iron fist. You say something bad that goes against it, that's a $10,000 fine back then. 10 grand back then is a lot of money. So I like to let everybody know that when I was in the business, it was a privilege to be in the business. It isn't like what you have now where you had 9 million zillion podcasts and let alone a lot of different ways to write blogs and all that. This is a different business. And one of my role models that I never met, but I saw on the air, was a guy by the name of Frank Reynolds. And I'll remember when Frank Reynolds, Rob, I think if anybody can relate to it, probably, well, it would be you, during the Ronald Reagan assassination attempt, where he said, I don't want to first get it right. And he blew a gasket on the air.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can't do that. And I despise and detest factual errors. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate those comments very much. Thank you so much. But it's important. I want this book to be looked at as a book that young podcasters, broadcasters get into, journalists, so they can use it as like a handbook. And for those individuals that go out there and want to learn about our industry, I really, really do. And I tell you what, the people that I've met in this business are just unbelievable. So I talk about some of the best interviews that I've done in that book. I talk about my background and where I've worked in the book, and some of the things I've had to do during adverse situations. I will never forget the time working for the Tampa Tribune and over at Osceola County Stadium, the former home of the Houston Astros. And forget internet. The phone lines were down, and I couldn't even get my story transmitted over to the Tampa Tribune. Luckily, I got my editor to go ahead and dictate it, and he dictated two. I dictated two stories, and I put that in the book. That's one of the pictures that are in there. So I think the thing that's important for people to understand is just because you're in a very difficult situation doesn't mean you can't think on your feet and do what you do. You want to be able to know that you can't fool your audience. There's no shortcuts in the business. You have to be prepared. You have to make sure you build relationships through social media, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and whatnot. And that's what it's all about. That's how I found you guys. You guys are absolutely great people. I've found you guys on Twitter, and it's been unbelievable. And the sky's the limit in terms of what we're going to all do as we continue to collaborate. But it's old school media, how it used to be versus how new school. And I've enjoyed the acclamation to new school media because everybody knows that newspapers are going down south, and many of them are going out of business. If you can't understand the fact that Detroit has one daily paper, the Tampa Tribune went out, and a lot of them are just going online. It was my responsibility to think ahead of the curve, knowing they were going on. So I decided to make mine digital. Thanks, as showed. I really appreciate it. Great stuff. I'm glad we made a friend here with this person. So I was trying to think ahead, and hey, I don't have to go ahead and cut stories. If you're sending me digitally, I'll let the whole thing go, and that's really what it's all about. How I built the South Florida Tribune from scratch, okay, from nothing all the way to something, and I'm going to continue to do that. So I've enjoyed the challenge. I look at it as a microphone, like a lollipop for a kid. I can never have enough of it. Okay. The Motor City Madmouth is to me, has you ever heard of that analogy? A watch takes the licking and keep on ticking. Well, I take a licking and keep on talking. Okay. My ex-wife gave me the name Motor City Madmouth because she knew I was animated. I talk about my head. I'm all over the place, but it's about having fun. You have to be prepared. You have to be able to articulate. You have to have fun, and you have to keep it simple, stupid. And you want to educate, entertain, and be informative. And that's what it's all about. Integrity is everything. Unfortunately, nowadays people don't. I look at some of the stuff on social media. Some things I don't like to put on there. Sometimes I have to put them. Sometimes I don't. But you have to be creative and you have to be different. And those are some of the points that I illustrate in that book. And when I write my second one, I'll tell you, I'm going to write a big chapter on burning bridges in the next one, because I've seen some people burn bridges that shouldn't have done it because they took a comment that was designed to educate them and try to turn it into a viral moment, which is absolutely stupid because it ultimately bites you anyways in terms of getting blackballed into business. But there's so many different ways that you can go ahead and look at things. And I think no matter what people say, the one thing I mentioned early in the book is you had Dan, I'll never forget Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message. That's the first lesson that I learned when I went to college. And I'm going to tell you, to this day, that is a message to me that is not outdated. It will some sayings will never be outdated and in time, and that will be one of them. When I mentioned Frank Reynolds, I had an opportunity one time when I was covering the Lions and Redskins in Washington to Arlington Cemetery, and I stopped by his gravesite. I said, Frank, thanks for teaching me one of the most valuable lessons in the world. And that's just to me, not first, but get it right. Great. And I think that when people buy it, I'm confident that if you can't learn one or two things out of there, that I guess I didn't do a very good job putting my words there. And that's why I'm determined to write a second one. And I'm looking for individuals like you guys that I can mention along the trail for Act 2. They always say, how do you do better in Act 2? Well, I believe you can do it. I really do. You just have to continue the flow of what you're doing and maintain everything that you stood for. Act 2 can always be better. Well, look what happened with the Rockies series, okay? Everybody thought they were one and done, and they, let alone, had 5 movies off of it. So you can do a second one. I don't plan to write a third one. At that point, it's difficult to do. But I also talk about streaming versus internet radio and terrestrial radio. And blog radio, having gone out of business, will be in the second book. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. That's why I wrote it. It's 15 chapters, about 208 pages.
Right.
I'm anticipating the second book will be about 8 to 10 chapters. And I'm going to come up with some different things that most people never realize. How you can learn from nonfiction stories on TV to come up with ideas. And also, the few thing that people have to understand is the fact that when you're out there observing other people that you've never even met, it's unbelievable. I talk about some of the lady pioneers in that book as well. You can't leave any stones unturned in this industry if you know what's good for you.
Yep.
They all, and some of these people I met, some of them I didn't. So what?
Right. No.
And by the way, for whatever it's worth, I have a picture of myself and Muhammad Ali with a picture by my jaw on it.
Great. That's awesome.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to give an overview. I really appreciate that.
Hey, that's what you're on here for too, you know.
Thank
Scott,
you.
I also got to ask you a question before we go. I have two questions, but one first.
Sure.
What's going on with the Rays, right? I think they got a new owner, right? They sold. They're planning on fixing the roof on the Trop, but with this new owner, what's the future of the Rays? Are they moving out of there? Are they getting a new stadium somewhere? Are they moving out of Florida? Like, what's going on?
I'm not leaving Florida.
No, okay.
No, not going there. They've done a good job trying to make the best of a tough situation with that hurricane they had last year that ripped a roof off of Tropicana Field. I've never been a fan of Tropicana Field because they put it in the wrong neighborhood in St. Petersburg. Should never put it there. That building should never have been built. It should have been built next to Tampa Stadium in Tampa. And when that stadium was built with the intent to allure the White Sox and the Giants, that never happened. And you know what? Tampa said, all right, you can have them. And it's been a joke. Now, to update you on the current situation, they're looking at a sale that will go out there and be about $1.7 billion. Get this, the kickers are even throwing in the Tampa Bay Rowdies for free. So if everybody knows anything about soccer, Tampa Bay Rowdies are a team that used to be in North American Soccer League. The plan as it stands right now is the new owner wants to build a stadium in Tampa, which is where they should put it. And I'm convinced that that's where that new stadium is going to go. They're drawing decent over there, but it's hard to play baseball in open air because we know about the weather conditions, rain and all that. The Rays are making the best of a tough situation, but for baseball to succeed in the Tampa Bay area, it must be in Tampa, period. If you don't believe me, tell me how well the Buccaneers are doing. If you don't believe me, tell me how the Lightning are doing. Okay, we don't have there's no NBA team there. Okay, so, and when you start to get everything on the Hillsborough County side of the bay in Tampa, I always feel that Tampa is one of the best sports towns in the country. They don't have 4 major sports. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Don't be surprised if some of the NBA audience from the Magic get there. And they did have the Toronto Raptors, by the way, for one season. They didn't do that badly. They're knowing that they were displaced. But I'll reiterate what I said before. You get a stadium built in Tampa where it should be, and I'm sure they'll figure out the sites at some point or another. Tampa Bay, and let alone Tampa, will be an excellent baseball town. I know it. That is a proven sports market. And I should point out to the fact that I am a graduate from the University of South Florida Bulls, so I have a little bit of Tampa blood in me. So I'd like to think I know I'm talking about that area. And I'm hoping and praying that they get it there. That's the only place to put it.
So short-term future, they're gonna be back in the Trop next year, but long-term, or hopefully not too long-term, they're gonna move to a new stadium in Tampa, hopefully, right?
Well, you're a quick study, just like you were when you went on last Wednesday night, man.
See, I told you.
Yeah, but the reality is,
we're not that's slow.
Oh, you guys are fan. I'm telling you, you guys amazed the heck out of me last Wednesday.
No,
but to answer your question, though, what they're doing is repairing the roof over at Tropicana Field. They're on the hook for another 2 or 3 years. I think the lease goes until 28. But then hopefully they'll have this situation resolved by 29, and that should be that.
Why do you think it hasn't worked in Miami with the Marlins? Because they got a great stadium now.
Oh, that's easy. Come on, you're giving me an easy question.
The team stinks.
The stadium is in a bad neighborhood.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeffrey Luria flees the city of Miami to build a stadium down there when they should have been over by Joe Robbie Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. If you would
That's
have had
right.
that
You're right.
stadium in a much better location, the Marlins could get 25,000, 30,000 back all day long when you draw from Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. But I love the stadium. It's a great stadium to work out of. But the problem also is you don't have an entertainment district around there either. With the Tampa Bay Lightning, you have an entertainment district around there.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever they're going to put that new Tampa stadium for the soccer team, the other one by Ybor City, there's entertainment around everything. It's always good that you want to have a place to go after the game is over. You can wind down, have food, let alone relax with your friends. So, but Miami's absolutely easy. They go out there and they just have it in a bad neighborhood. You, don't get all this business. I know the Orange Bowl went out there and had 70,000 people back then.
Yep.
They did, and that's fine and dandy. But the Miami Hurricanes were winning games, and the Miami Dolphins were going undefeated. The Dolphins haven't been relevant this century. The Hurricanes are getting back, and the problem that the Marlins have is they have a franchise with a reputation where we will build things and we will come only when, by the way, we are winning. Okay, but when they're losing, guess what? You have a David Copperfield where they all abracadabra, alakazam, and they disappear. The Florida Panthers won't be any good at all by the time they start losing again, although they seem to be on a good run. Nobody does in this market. The only time they ever draw well is when the metropolitan New Yorkers go to these places. The Yankees do awesome. In fact, they'll be in here next weekend, and the Mets always have a pretty good crowd. You can see them. And the fact that Yankees used to train in nearby Fort Lauderdale, and the Mets are in St. Lucie. So the metropolitan New York influence is strong here. We all know about the Miami Heat and New York Knicks and the Rangers and the Panthers. I mean, forget about the Devils and the Islanders. The Rangers, to me, are the team that obviously they get it right. So, but I think the main thing that people have to understand is the fact that that stadium is awful. Jeffrey Luria did one of the biggest fleece jobs. I think that stadium, when it's all said and done, is going to be about $660 million that they will have charged for it back then 20 years ago. Can you imagine what that would be in today's money to put it down there? I mean, that's just astronomical numbers. But they're trying with this new ownership, but the reputation is what it is. I still think Milwaukee could go out there and draw blindfolded is what they could do. They could put 30 to 40,000 people in the stands all day long. For the Marlins to get 18, 25,000, that's tough, and they usually do it. I'll never forget when they had the Tigers and the Marlins series a couple of years ago when Miguel Cabrera was down here. They got about 100,000 fans for that weekend, which is unbelievable. But then when the Yankees came down, they even eclipsed that. You get 100,000 people at the gate. Even if the Marlins lose games, they're winning at the gate. That's how challenging it really is. Bad neighborhood.
Okay, that was pretty simple. So, all right, Scott, we got.
Was it as long-winded as I was?
No, that was good. That was good. Bad neighborhood. That was simple.
Okay, good.
All right. All right. We always ask this last question for our guest. Last question of the show.
Sure.
If you were named baseball commissioner today, what changes would you make to the game?
Well, one that Bryce Harper doesn't want when he ran out, when he gave the commissioner a piece of his mind. And you have to put a salary cap in. I don't care what anything there is.
Right.
This next lockout's going to get ugly.
Yep. It is.
I know the big headline. I won't even be talking about that on 108 Stitches Baseball because I have so many other things I need to get to, but it'll be on next weekend. But you do, at long last, you need a salary cap for baseball, period. They've done a good job with some of the rule changes. I'm really pleasantly surprised, but it's inevitable.
You like the pitch clock? You like the extra runner in the 10th inning?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't like the extra runner in the 10th inning. But
I don't think anybody likes that.
Nobody.
I understand the reason why what they're trying to do is make sure the pitchers don't get worn out. Yeah, I get it, but doesn't mean I got to like it. They don't have it during the postseason. I don't know much about the widening of the bases. I never pay attention. Maybe because my vision's so bad, I wouldn't care. When I see a stolen base, I steal all the base. The pitch clock is worn on me. It really has, because I think it's just a matter of getting your mindset, and they're trying to get pace in the game. I don't have a problem with the limitation of mound visits. If you really want to have a talk with a pitcher, do it in the dugout as well. 2 or 3 is probably enough. As far as engagements, it's not a big deal. Some of these things, they're in there because they're in there. Now, the ABS strike zone is inevitable next year. I still don't know enough about it. I can't really comment on that one right away. I don't know. It's premature.
Yeah, I think we all got to see it, in game and see how the flow is, if it's going to slow the game down or something like that. But yeah, I agree. Let's
but
see
the ghost runner is awful. I can't stand that.
No.
Yeah, really.
I don't think anybody likes that except for Manfred. I think Manfred's the only guy who likes that.
Yeah, but yet it's managed to stand the test of time is what it really has.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm old school. Yeah, I mean, your man here has been hitting bullseyes all day long. I'm old school. I hate it. And I'll tell you another thing, and this is just me being an old school guy, I miss complete games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I really do.
We all do. And Jonathan, Chris likes that idea too about the domes, right?
I always
Chris,
say that.
He always says that. Anyway, listen, Scott, thank you for coming on. We love you. Everyone's got to check out. Man. Yeah, check out. Go to South Florida Tribune, and definitely subscribe to him on YouTube. Check out all his shows. We're going to be on a bunch of his shows. We have a lot of fun. Wednesday night we were on his show, and man, it was a blast. So, Scott, listen, thanks for coming on the show. We want you to come back, of course. Again,
anytime you guys need me, you can come on. You have a home on our platform. You guys are, as Jimmy Walker would say, dynamite.
That's great.
He's pretty good.
Listen, I just wanted to let everybody to know Friday night at 10 p.m. or after the Met and Yankee games, whatever comes first, the return of Anthony Savino to yell about the Mets if they're winning or not.
We need Anthony and Frank the Tank to be on the show at the same time.
Let these guys know about my Twitter as well. If they're on Twitter at Tribune South on Twitter, they can follow me because that's how I found you guys.
Definitely follow him on Twitter. Yeah, but the only thing is, when we had Frank the Tank, we had the mild Frank the Tank on, right? He was very mellow, so we didn't get the real Frank the Tank. So we got to have him come back on. But Joe Dell loves Anthony Savino. He can't wait for him to come on Friday. So everybody tune in Friday night, 10 p.m., post-game show on Friday night. And that's all I have. Chris, you got anything else?
No, I think that's it. That's the Twitter page for Scott, the South Florida Tribune. Definitely check him out there. Check him out YouTube. Definitely the website as well, southfloridatribune.com. Scott, thank you again. Thank you again for actually welcoming us onto your show as well on Wednesdays.
Yes.
And we'll see what happens.
Can I add one last thing before I get off?
Sure.
I want to credit my wife, Candy Ebling, for doing an unbelievable job with that website. She built that thing from the ground up, and she's done a great job in the show. So please let me get that credit in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we enjoyed her on the show. Yes.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Great being on. Contact me anytime you want. I love coming on with you guys because you guys are absolutely great. I'll tell you, you guys are the best. And anybody that watches the show, it's a treat. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. We'll see everybody Friday at 10 o'clock with Anthony Savino.